You're watching the AAU TV Newsroom live, and we are coming to you from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana, and my name is Lydia Nyame. With me in the studio are
Jemima Daladem Duchi.
And my name is Ajiman Ochodako.
And now the headlines on higher education. Universities set to double tuition fee in Kenya. And again, students face challenges en route to self-employment.
And in our health news, large study finds clear association between fitness and mental health. And in addition, vegan diets may be linked to a higher risk of bone fractures.
In our science and technology news, scientists figured out how much exercise you need to offset a day of sitting. I must say we're looking so gorgeous today. Kind Kesio, GTP Test House Ghana Limited, and do well to bring in your comments on news discussions on Facebook and YouTube. And don't go anywhere, we'll bring you more news in a short break.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. Charging up goes a long way. Strengthen your immune system. Your immune system needs all the help it can get. Eat well, stay hydrated. Hands pick up a lot. Avoid touching your face. Your well-being is in your hands. Sanitize regularly. Stay safe. GTP, timeless.
You all come back from the break, and Kenya has revived plans to increase fees for students enrolled at public universities from next year. Private universities are also considering similar plans, spelling doom for students who could be paying at least double the current charges next year. University councils have asked Parliament to sanction the proposed fees increment, which is supposed to guarantee institutions' sustainability. The Vice-Chancellors want all state-sponsored students to pay annual tuition fee of $600, up from the current $265. This could earn public universities in Kenya at least $450 million annually, which is expected to fund the operations and development expenditures. Private universities in Kenya are also seeking to double their fees from the current $700 to $1,400 a year. According to Geoffrey Muluvi, the chairman of the Vice-Chancellor's Committee, Parliament's approval has been sought on how to address the funding gaps universities are experiencing. He further added that the cost of training a student has gone up and must be shared appropriately between the university, parents, and the government. The decision by the Vice-Chancellors to seek Parliament's intervention follows years of haggling between them and the Ministry of Education, which is supposed to the increase. Should Parliament sanction the proposal, the ministry will have to implement the decision. It's quite interesting, but I mean, what exactly is influencing the Vice-Chancellors in Kenya's decision for this increment in school fees?
You know, the issue here is a very, very large one. This is not the first time we find Kenyan universities clamoring for an increase in fee payment.
Okay.
It's been since 2014.
Okay.
And it's all because of how they are managing the higher education sector.
Yeah.
Can you imagine whereby you retain full-time professors in an institution, and you have to pay them according to their salary structure. They ought to be paid well and very well, and you need to pay each and every one against per student.
Yeah.
That's what the issue is. Now, do you have the funds to do that? Unfortunately, this year, government actually took away 26% of the funding for universities in Kenya, all because of COVID-19. And I think it stemmed from the fact that revenue collection in Kenya fell. As a result, government had to take this bold step to take away such $400 million from the budgets. That falls down to $1.13 billion for universities to manage. But the question is, the number of students the government is actually supporting or state funding have increased against the number that his amount of money that he pays can cover. So what do? I mean, the vices have to do their job. They have to still pay these professors who deserve to be paid at the amount they have to be paid. So we are just looking at how can government now retake back that decision and give that back, that 20% back to the school, so they can be able to pay these professors, or else perhaps students will have to bear that increase.
To add to what Ajimai said, the government currently is taking care of 57% of learners out of the 80% of which the government is supposed to take care of. So right now it leaves 23% wondering where they get the funds from. So with this, the universities have to now get ways of getting improve
Raising
upon
the
their
funds.
ways of getting funds for this 23% of
Yeah.
learners. So I'm not surprised they are asking of the increments because they also need funds for themselves. They have to improve the school, do their normal improvement, development and all that. And due to COVID-19, a lot has delayed. So I think this is a way they also want to, start developing themselves and
Ajimana, I just want to chip in this example. Just imagine you are feeding, let's say, 100 people and you are being given $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
But now you are feeding about 5,000 people and you are still being given the same $2,000. How do you cope? I think this is where Kenyan universities find themselves, hence these vice chancellor decision to go in for an increment.
Leader, there's a system in Kenya, and the system in Kenya is called a differentiated unit cost.
Okay.
This system is responsible for funding the state students, and they are funding both public and some private universities.
Oh, okay.
So for public universities, it is a fixed deal. But when it comes to private schools, there is some special programs.
Yeah.
If this system is not reviewed, then it means that government has a lot of way to go to support these people. Imagine you fund these special programs at these private universities, and now the amount of money you used to allocate is fixed, but the number of people you are taking care of keep increasing. Then what is the essence here? Then there must be a review of the process.
Exactly.
Because you put so much pressure on these vice chancellors who are in charge, because they're also doing so many things over there and they need the funds to move on. Let me just say this issue with the fact that the budget that was given to them, out of I think now we're looking at 1.53 billion US dollars, which has fell into 1.13 billion. Now, initially, you had to take off 53% of the students out of 100% who are state funded. But now the students who are being state funded are 80%.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
how can you now take for 80% of people and you still give that subvention that is that very low?
That's true.
There should be a review.
That's true.
And one thing that really beats up the whole issue is the fact that government actually reduced the entry grade from a B plus to
a C.
To a C plus. That means that people know initially universities used to make money out of the fact that people can come and then do fee paying.
Yes.
They call it
parallel
power programs. And these programs are the same as what we do, is that when you come in with let's say a much lower grade, you pay for your studies or your funding. And when you do that, universities also raise money through that. Now government reduces from B to C plus, meaning that anybody who gets C plus who could have paid can now be under the government funding program.
Exactly.
And so you have many people crawling into that program.
Exactly.
So now who becomes a personal funder?
So the university's income is decreasing.
What baffles my mind is why Professor George Mahowa is disputing this. He doesn't want to support it, and it baffles my mind.
George was a former vice chancellor of the University of Nairobi and now Secretary of Education in Kenya. And I know from his point of view, it's a bit. He will actually advocate for students that the university shouldn't necessarily increase the fee payment or tuition fee, but find ways and means on some austerity basis to recall back their investments into some project and then use that for such stuff. But universities have to grow. These are autonomous institutions. The whole of Africa, these are autonomous bodies that need to be run on their own. And so if you tell them if you give directed what to do, it's like you actually sitting on their independence. So you allow them to do what they have to do to grow and expand. But government needs to ensure that he does his part of the bargain.
And I also think the academic institutions of a country, the schools in the country are very important. So I think what the professor is saying, he's not wrong. I think, the schools, the institutions should be looked at first. I think that is where the development of the country even starts. We need leaders. We need people to be mentored, trained to become good leaders. And that is our student. That is the people in the classroom. So if we look at them first, if the funds get to them first and we take care of them and they come out and they are good to go, then I think everywhere, when you start it's like starting from the students and through the students, everywhere is developed.
Sure.
That's great. Now, still on higher education, while graduates are increasingly conscious of the wider range of opportunities that can open up as a result of their education qualifications, they are equally aware of securing jobs on the basis of simply possessing academic credentials. As was the case in the olden days, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible.
ስራ እየፈለኩ ነው። በአፕላይድ ባዮሎጂ ነው የተመረኩት። አፕላይድ ባዮሎጂ ነው የተመረኩት የመጀመሪያ ግሬድ ማለት ነው። ይኸው አሁን 3ኛ ዓመት ሆኖኛል። ምንም አይነት ስራ እየተገኘ አይደለም። እጅግ በጣም አሳዛኝ ነው የእውነት ለማውራት። ምክንያቱም ያው እንግዲህ የታወቀ ነው የሀገሪቱ ፖለቲካ ጉዳይ ነው። በዛ ላይ ደግሞ እየተሰራ ያለው ፌር አይደለም። የተለያየ ስራዎች ነው እየተሰሩ ያሉት።
There is some sort of improvement nowadays, but prior to the AAU government or regime, I can say that it was totally about the political affiliation that you have, whether you are employed in a certain place or not. So long as you don't have this kind of affiliation, it is so hard. But nowadays, there's a visible improvement. There is a visible improvement, but still there's no job.
አብዛኛውን ጊዜ እኔ ከራሴ የማየው የስራ ልምድ በጣም የስራ ልምድ ይጠየቃል። ተመርቀው ደግሞ የስራ ልምድ አታገኙ። ያው ሰው ደፍሮ የማይቀጥረን ደግሞ ከሆነ የስራ ልምድ ማግኘት አንችልም።
All right, let me now come to Dawit, who works for the Jobs Creation Commission, which is part of government's mandate. I read some interesting statistics that you've created a lot of work and jobs for people within a short span of time, but we're hearing 25% unemployment. That's not good.
Yes, that's correct. Of course, we've been doing this for the past 1 year and actually for the past 6 months. So to solve the structural problem of youth unemployment, which actually affects not just Ethiopia but Africa, takes quite a bit of time. We're facing a conundrum now, right? The public sector has been carrying a lot of the weight for employment for a long time with sidelining the private sector. So we think now we need to engage the private sector. There's a lot of private practitioners that want to get into the medical field and also invest some money and hire, but because of some structural problems, they haven't been able to absorb that workforce. Yeah. So what we're trying to do, actually, we're working with the medical association, we're working with student associations, trying to understand the situation and also work with government to expand private practice services.
So what we see in schools is exactly different from what we find in our society. So when you go out of there, you find denial.
I'd like to hear from some of the university students who are at the back. Do you think that what you're being taught in your classrooms is preparing you for the 4th industrial revolution that we've heard, a future of digitization? Can I please hear from some people here?
Most of education.
That's a report from the 77% on DW TV. And now, are African students being equipped with the right skills for the job market?
Lydia, I must say that, I mean, so many graduates in Africa are getting frustrated day by day. You know, and it all boils down on how people are prepared for the job market. Mm-hmm. And it is sad to say that universities in Africa are just, what they do is train you to know how to defend your CV in the interview room, and not how you can own your business at the end of the day. So people get out of school, so then they are free to start businesses. I mean, it becomes a hurdle to cross. How do you start your own business? Because you were not ever taught to be one, to own one. I mean, you were not taught to, you were not given what it takes to be able to create your own business after school. You were rather taught on how to get a job and work well out there. So now students graduate from school and then they ask themselves, how can we get jobs? And we don't get jobs out of such frustration. We now go and then create our own jobs.
Okay.
It hasn't become a deliberate effort that actually I'm studying administration. When I'm done, I'm going to start a business.
Okay.
The skill aspect is lost. So I ask myself, how many graduates come out there with special skills apart from their degree? That is the issue. So until we're able to give the students that skill they need to start their own businesses, we'll always be wondering, always find a challenge in the fact of we beginning a business on our own.
Yeah. To add to what Ajaman is saying, our schools, what we learn in our classrooms, actually most of them is theoretical. You know, you don't go out to the field to do what you are taught in the classrooms. So we find it very difficult to set up our own businesses. Sometimes we have the knowledge, we have the information, but you know how to practicalize what you have learned, what you have heard is where the problem is. So if our higher education institutions would, you know, have a way to twist the curricular activities in a way that will be given the chance to go to the field, do some field works, and actually they will grade you on it, so that when you come out, you can use that field work to start something on your own.
You know, my problem is how are our higher education institutions in Africa carrying on with entrepreneurial courses? Like Hajiman said, as a student, when you are being enrolled in various schools, all you think about is, let me go get the knowledge and then be employed by government or perhaps a private institution. We don't think about being self-employed. But I think in so many ways our institutions are to blame, because here's the case: a lot of institutions don't run entrepreneurial courses. So what exactly is going to equip the students to have the knowledge that, hey, I can also start up my business? Of course, the idea of starting up your business is there, but it is different when you are being taught in school. When you are being taught that this is also another way to make it in life. This is also another way to make money. But as our institutions are not doing it, although some institutions may be doing it.
You know, that much of that work is left on the students, okay? I personally, when I was in school, I began doing MCing jobs. I was doing soaps and other beverages. Now I've grown with these skills. I'm now learning new skills like designing, graphic design, and also video editing. These are other things I do. Now, if my degrees can't really get me a job out there, I can start my own business. The question is, who ensures that every student in university is able to understand that if you are here, find another skill and do something extra to what you are learning, so that you can add value to your own self out there. Nobody does that. It becomes your own problem. So if you start some photography business on campus or makeup business on campus, then you can grow that business and you can start your own business. If you don't get a job in any company, you can start that out of frustration. That's the issue here. It is not out of determination that I really want to do my own business after spending 4 years or how many years in university. But rather, I've searched all around my CV. Nobody wants to absorb me. Then I think I have a skill that I want to put down. We have not made business creation a priority.
That's true.
We've made it an option. As if you struggle through and you don't get a job, you beg parents, or
which boils down to my next question. Is self-employment an option for unemployment?
Well, I believe that it's really an option. We have made an option in Africa.
But is it supposed to be like that?
It shouldn't be so. Not at all. I mean, in the USA or some other parts in Europe, to say self-employment is the key priority when you start school. They ensure that you really do something that can add value to yourself. You teach yourself to be a businessman or woman. So it becomes, I mean, there are so many startups in the US, and they are the ones encouraging Africa to do startups. Can't we see it? We always have so many startups in the USA, and they are actually coming down to become companies that employ you and I. The question is, why are we not encouraging our graduates to be startups? So it's about time the university does beyond what they're doing. Stop giving students that curriculum that makes them feel that they must put on a student tie or perhaps hold their... What makes a difference in your life is their CV. What makes a difference in your life is what you can do for yourself, which is a skill you have learned. The university should be encouraging students to do that for themselves, right from campus, and encourage them to have startups. It is very sad. I mean, we just lamented the fact that when did we start introducing entrepreneurial programs in Africa? Since when? Not so long ago, when we realized that the job field was not really, or was quite clinching together, then we realized that it's about time students should learn entrepreneurship.
But the entrepreneurial courses are even theoretical. So right now, even if you teach me, or let me say marketing, you are teaching me marketing. What is marketing? What do you do in marketing? But you don't let me go out, get something for myself, go out and market it. Let me know how it feels to market. So that when I'm out, I'm done with school and I am selling something, I know what to do to market my my product.
You know, that is really a soft skill. To have the courage, the boldness to the effort to say, I'm going to start my own business, even at the school. It's one big thing that we have to nurture.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because we find starting your own business as a hurdle to cross. Because you think you're going to fail, you think you won't succeed, you think your business won't grow. All of these are things that we need to nurture whilst you're in school.
That's true.
If I believe that the new phase of higher education in Africa should be, when you come in to start your education, we should always find ways, to get that idea you have in you, that innovativeness, that value addition, that can turn your life around to a business. So that we can now give you the moral support on how you can start and run your business without fear. Many graduates can do that in Africa, but they are afraid. And so because when they began from level 100 or from the first year, they are taught to look at something else and not their business.
That's true.
So they can't actually consider business running after school. It's too late for that.
So it's definitely an option.
Well, we have more work to do on that one.
Moving on to our health news, researchers have reported a clear link between physical fitness and the risk of experiencing symptoms of depression, anxiety, or both. The study, which includes more than 150,000 participants, found that cardiorespiratory fitness and muscle strength independently contribute to a greater risk of worse mental health. Problems with mental health, just like physical health issues, can have a significant negative effect on a person's life. Two of the more common mental health conditions are anxiety and depression. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 18.1% of adults in the United States have experienced an anxiety disorder in the past year. In addition, the National Institute of Mental Health notes that 7.1% of U.S. adults have had a major depressive episode. There is a growing evidence that being physically active may help prevent or treat mental health conditions. However, many questions still need answering, like what measures researchers can use to quantify physical activity and many more. This is more important to have detailed evidence of the relationship between physical activity and mental health, as well as the mechanism that might underlie it. With this information, clinicians can offer more targeted guidance to people with mental health conditions. That is really interesting, but do you think there is a causal link between physical activity and a better mental health?
Well, I think so. I saw the way they were moving their body up and down. Sometimes you get depressed. Depression and anxiety is all about what happens day in life. Let's say things don't go the way you want them to go.
Exactly.
You don't hit your targets. People disappoint you. It's about the same people that really bring your spirit down. But when it happens this way, medically it's been proven that just meeting new people or just moving your muscles, just stretch up your body, turning around or meeting people, music, these things can bring you life, make you lively again. So depression, anxiety, I believe that meeting new people and also just refreshing yourself through body activities, running, walking, swimming, these things can go a long way to just bring you back to life and then make you look lively.
I do agree with Ajaman, because I personally have had that kind of experience where I find myself in places where I am too down, but then the moment I start doing a few walks, I start doing a few exercises, I feel like, whoa, I'm a better person now. I feel like, gosh, I'm alive. So I do think that this really helps. The exercises and the fitness, it does really help our mental health.
Moving on, a newly published study has found that vegans may be at high risk of bone fractures than people who incorporate meat into their diet. The risks may also be higher for vegetarians and pescatarians.
Vegans, vegetarians and pescatarians may be at a higher risk of bone fracture. A new study published in the journal BMC Medicine states. Researchers looked at data from 54,898 respondents in the UK. Vegans with a low calcium and protein intake had a 43% greater risk of fractures. It was concluded that there were 19.4 more cases in vegans and 4.1 more cases in vegetarians for every 1,000 people over a duration of 10 years. The risk, however, was slightly reduced when BMI, calcium and protein intake was taken in consideration. A limitation of the study was that it included only white European participants.
That's interesting story right there. So, but what do you think about this particular story?
Well, I mean, I find the story quite a bit arguable because, you know, I like vegetables a lot. I take so much vegetables and fruits mostly at times. And if perhaps I endanger myself to bone fractures, then that means more information. I think I need to know more about that. I think the most important thing is that I think there might be some difference somewhere. I mean, vegans strictly don't take anything protein or meat.
Meat.
And perhaps what do meats give us? It means protein. And what exactly strengthens one's bones is a calcium factor. So maybe perhaps in one way or the other I might agree with the story that if we don't take so much of the protein or perhaps too much vegan diet can actually lead to bone fractures because the calcium factor which is in meats you may not be consuming these nutrients. But I mean, as I said, it's open to more debate medically because some medical reports may not actually side with this report.
I equally find this quite arguable, actually, and I think it's too interesting. I was basically laughing when you were reading it. I think it's too interesting and too, should I say ambiguous? I don't believe it.
But do you take more of these vegetables?
Why do you think I don't believe it? I take it almost all the time. So basically, I don't have strong bones.
Really?
That's what you're saying.
No, but that's what.
So you agree?
No, it's scary.
Well, personally, I believe that in every diet you have, I mean, there should be some balanced touch of fruits, vegetables, but also proteins, actually meats and other proteins. So,
that's true.
But just taking so much of these vegetables and being a vegan, if it endangers you to bone fractures, then I think it's about. I can't say all vegans should start eating meat.
Not at all.
Or perhaps should start. But I believe I can be a pescatarian. Who would not so be into veganism, but at least blending these stuff at least will just secure you.
To some extent, I agree, much as I don't want to, because I mean these meats contain a lot of is it vitamins?
Yeah, proteins.
Protein
factor.
Exactly. Thank you for that. So, I mean, imagine someone taking it and you are not. Definitely the protein is giving someone an additional value that you
are not getting.
Exactly. So I think to some extent it may be true.
So to some extent it may be true. Don't go anywhere as we bring you science and technology news after the short pause.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. Charging up goes a long way. Strengthen your immune system. Your immune system needs all the help it can get. Eat well, stay hydrated. Hands pick up a lot. Avoid touching your face. Your well-being is in your hands. Sanitize regularly. Stay safe. GTP, timeless.
You know, every day, every week we bring you new wonderful stuff on science and technology, and this time scientists figured out how much exercise you need to offset a day of sitting. People sit too much these days in your offices, right?
Of course.
And perhaps we should find ways and means to offset these too much sitting time. So let's watch this video on how the scientists brought out these findings. Up to 40 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity every day is about the right amount to balance out 10 hours of sitting still, the research says, although any amount of exercise or even just standing up helps to some extent. That's based on a meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine of 9 previous studies that involved a total of 44,370 people in 4 different countries who were wearing some form of fitness tracker. The analysis found the risk of death among those with a more sedentary lifestyle went up as time spent engaging in moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity went down. According to the researchers, inactive individuals doing about 30 to 40 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity, the association between high sedentary time and risk of death is not significantly different from those with low amounts of sedentary time. In other words, putting in some reasonable intensive activities like cycling, brisk walking, gardening, or moving your body can lower your risk of an earlier death right back down to what if it would be if you were doing nothing or sitting down all day, to the extent that this link can be seen in the amassed data of many thousands. You know, that is how interesting it is in terms of just 30 minutes, 40 minutes exercise after sitting a long time sitting in the offices. But how do you find this story in terms of keeping alive with just doing a short exercise in the office after a long time of sitting.
Now,
I think
this is a story that I can agree on. Beyond what the scientists are saying, exercises is something that we all know is very, very important. It's very, very relevant. It helps us in a lot of ways. A lot of people are sick, and the actual medication they need is
an exercise.
But sadly, we do not know. So I do agree with this, because someone might spend like 10 hours, 11, 12 hours, 8 hours in the office sitting. The person might only stand up a few times. You eat, you come back to your seat, you don't exercise. You are just there. You are just putting a lot of sickness on yourself that you don't realize. Perhaps the day you might realize, it may be too late. So these exercises would help. And I think it says 30 to 40 minutes. I don't think that's too much. Is it going to be a vigorous exercise?
You mean just something flexible. Just moving your neck, your body.
I think it's very important, because actually I have a boss who, after sitting for 2 hours, he will tell you to get up and walk around for 30 minutes. And I see it's very important, because I tried it for some time and I see that it's very, very, very good, because when you get up, you tend to stretch your legs, your back, your head, your neck. You know, there is some kind of stretching that goes on in your bones. So I think it's very important.
Great. I mean, so nowadays we have to sit, just try and do more some walking and then body movements when you sit for a very long time, just to keep you active.
Now, in wrapping up the news, let us take a quick recap of our headlines. Universities set to double tuition in Kenya. And again, students face challenges en route to self-employment.
In our health news, large study finds clear association between fitness and mental health. And in addition, vegan diet may be linked to a high risk of bone fractures.
In our science and technology, scientists figured out how much exercise you need to offset a day of sitting.
And now, thank you very much for staying with AAU TV Newsroom Live, as AAU TV stays committed to inform, to transform. My name is Lydia Nyame.
And I am Jemima Deladem Gucci.
My name is Ajimano Chudako, and I must say a big thank you to GTP Textiles Ghana for making that look so awesome day today. And just keep watching AAU TV for more of our programs and more news next week. Bye.